Hi guys, so I decided to do a second follow-up video to my first one regarding my complaint against Pride, my children's former daycare provider. Now this video is actually for the College of Early Childhood Educators. In this video, I am actually going to call them out because in their mandate, they're mandated to protect the public. And I took this mandate straight out from their website. As you can see, this is right here. It says its mission is to serve and protect the public interest by regulating the profession of early childhood education. And then I went on to take out from the website again, this is the values, again, taken directly from the website. There's transparency, accountability, and under that you can see the hallmark of self-regulation. We accept responsibility of our actions. You're going to accept responsibility of your actions. That's good. Moving on, they have integrity and fairness, professionalism and leadership, inclusion and respect. So I'm going to leave this up here for a while so that you can see this is the values of the early childhood the College of the Early Childhood Educators as taken directly from the website. And also in the website, they have a section that's for professional regulation. And in there, as you can see, if you have any complaints, they tell you exactly what to do. It's an intake form, which I did fill out. And also the email to address any concerns that you may have. So the email's right there. So having said that, when I'm done my video, I'm going to ask the public, which because this college is mandated to the public, I will let them to explain to the public how they came to their decision to not to take further action. Again, I'm going to show you more evidence. The first video, that was just a small part of it. There is more. And this video, I'm going to show you additional evidence that was given to them. And then again, we're going to relate it back to their code of conducts, their code of ethics, their standards, and then relate that back to how they came up with their decision. Now I'm going to show you their code of ethics and standard of practice. Now again, remember I told you, everything was online. So this document I read from the beginning until the very end. Now in Appendix A, as I will pull up right now, Appendix A has professional misconduct regulation. The parts that I feel pertain to my case were number 7, 8, 9, 10, number 16, and number 18. I'm going to show you a number 7, which is right here, failing without a reasonable cause to provide access to a record maintained by a member regarding a child, and such part or parts of a record as are reasonable, in the circumstances to the child or the child's parent and guardian. Keep that in mind. Also number 8, failing to maintain the standards of the profession. Number 9, breaching the term of an agreement relating to, it wasn't but the second part, professional services for a child. Then also number 10, I cited acting or failing to act in a manner that, having regard to the circumstances, would reasonably be regarded by members as disgraceful, dishonorable, and unprofessional. Also, I believe number 16, which is where Jennifer Bagshaw came into play, signing or issuing in the member's professional capacity a document that the member knows or ought to know contain a false, improper, or misleading statement. And finally, number 18, if what they're saying was true, remember they said, my son had all these aggressive behavior towards peers, all that kind of nonsense, failing to keep records as required by their professional duties. Now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 7 in their code of ethics and standards of practice. 7 terms or 7 items that I can point out that occurred in my situation. Now, in my complaint to the College of Early Childhood Educators, I did indicate that at the bottom, they ask you about what possible solutions you are looking to get out of it. And I indicated that I was looking to have her license be suspended. While under suspension, she would be required to take a course, I think I said anti-Black racism or diversity and inclusion training, and then any future role as a manager or a program manager or coordinator should be prohibited. So that's what I asked for as a resolution to my complaint with Anna. The same thing with Lindsay Blaine. For Jennifer Backshaw, I just said whatever the college deemed necessary. Again, because her name was only there because of her signature was on the note, on the letter of the termination of care. Now, some of you may be wondering why I only filed a complaint against the 3 members who were managers, and not against the educators. Great question. As I told you, every day when I drop off and pick up, I spoke with the educators. They've always told me everything was fine. In fact, after I got that letter, the form of the exceptional resource for exceptional children and youth, I actually spoke with one of the educators. Not Needy, the other one. So in his classroom, my son's classroom, there was 2 main ones and then 2 extra ones that I guess they came in when the other 2 were gone or on break. So I spoke with her and I asked her specifically, I asked her, did they have any issues managing my son's behavior? She replied to me that both her and Needy did not have any issues with my son's behavior whatsoever. That is what she told me. And they didn't feel that he needed they didn't feel that that form was necessary for him. That is what she told me. So now as a parent, I'm hearing the 2 educators in the classroom with my son who are with him every day, Monday to Friday, are telling me that they're fine with his behavior. Yet the manager or the supervisor, Anna, who's in her office every day, is the one telling me that my son is displaying these these problematic behavioral episodes. So if it's you as a parent, who would you believe? The educators who are in your son's classroom who are with him every day, or a manager or a supervisor who sits in the office all day? So again, to me, we had it's always been said that I had a good relationship with both educators. Yes, there were 2 main ones. The other 2 weren't the main ones there, but even all 4 educators, I had a good relationship with them. So as far as I knew, even when I filed my application to the tribunal, my witness list was actually involved the 2 educators that were in my son's classroom. So that is why, if you're wondering why they were not named, because as far as I was concerned, they were the ones telling me, they're the ones that I spoke to every day. They were fine with my son's behavior. It was Anna at the office that had an issue with him. So Anna was an educator at Pride prior to this. So even when there was the old supervisor that was there, Anna was just an educator. So when the supervisor that was there previously had left, Anna got promoted to supervisor. So Anna already knew my son. It wasn't like Anna just came in and all of a sudden she's going to target my son. She already knew him from before, because part of her job at the time when my son was in the preschool room, she would also be in his room as I think she was a floater. I'm not even sure, but she wasn't the main one there. But I know sometimes when I went to pick up, she was there. So I knew Anna, Anna knew me, and Anna knew my son. The problem only arose or came about once she became a supervisor. So here's an interesting fact. So after I filed my 4 complaints, remember I said I filed one with the Ministry of Education, the College of Early Childhood Education, Ontario Human Rights Tribunal, and also with the Durham Region Children's Services. In 2019, now this happened in August 2018, the new school year came. So there was one morning I went to drop off my kids in the morning. I saw Needy. So I had a little talk with Needy. So I wanted to give her a heads up that I had filed a complaint against Jennifer, Pride, and Anna. I wanted to give her a heads up that she was there as a witness, that I'm going to call her as a witness, and also let her know that I also did file a complaint with the College of Early Childhood Educators. So when I was telling her, I told her, just so you're aware, your name is everywhere on that document. When I was telling her this, she looked surprised. So I said to her, well, just so you know, there's some documents that have your name that you're telling Anna that my son was aggressive and you were afraid, and apparently you had there's a letter that was written by 4 staff saying that she was that they were afraid of him, and that you said that you had scratches and bruises on your hands. She looked at me and was like, what bruises? What are you talking about? She acted like she was surprised. And again, at that time, I didn't know she was acting. So to me, I thought this was all news to her. So I told her more. So I said, just so you know, this is what they're saying. Your name is all over there. And then she says to me, she said, Oluchi, don't you ever wonder why Anna never has a meeting with all of us together? She either has a meeting with me by herself or a meeting with you and Lindsay. The reason why she doesn't have a meeting with all of us is because she doesn't want the truth to come out. That is what Needy told me. I said, you know what? You're right. So when I left that morning, I called the College of ECE. I said to them, you may want to have a talk with Needy. This is after I just finished talking with her. And so the lady that I spoke with the in the discipline department, first she asked me, well, why would I tell Needy about this? Because again, with the College of Early Childhood Education, when they're doing their investigation, it's supposed to be a confidential matter. I said to her, well, the reason why I actually talked to Needy in the first place was because, again, remember I filed a human rights complaint as well. So I wanted to give her the heads up that I have her down as a witness and that her name is in a lot of the documents that Pride has submitted. I wanted to give her a heads up. So I relayed to this lady what Needy had told me. Do you know when I got the response back when I got the response back after the decision? When they had phoned Needy and spoke with her, Needy has told them, again, Needy wouldn't have been involved unless if I had not called them to talk to Needy, they would never have called her. Keep that in mind, okay? Needy only got involved in that one because I told them to call her and have a chat with her. Do you know that Needy told them that she feared for my son's life? No, she feared for her safety because of my son. She found my son aggressive and all the kids were afraid of him. She even told them that there was an incident where my son choked the child. Actually, I'm going to find that one for you. Give me 1 second. So this page includes a summary of the college's investigation. So you can see here in the 4th bullet, it says in here, this is coming from Needy. This 4th paragraph came from what Needy had told them. So apparently the next day, a student accidentally pushed A, then A began to choke and hit that child. A then left the playground without asking. A short time later, a student got water on A's shirt, so A pushed the child to the ground. The complainant was told of these incidents at pickup, and they were documented in incident reports. But you guys saw the whole incident report. All the incident report was given to them. There was just the one where my son wrote the HOO. So the college supposedly had this information, got this information from Needy, and said that the incident report was done on that. But there was no incident. But there was no incident report actually ever created about this incident. But they wrote that Needy said that there was. Isn't that false information? I think it is. Remember those parts of the Code of Ethics and Standard of Care that I went through in the beginning. So she made a statement that was false. So she said my son choked the child. So can you imagine? And there was no incident report ever done. So forget me for a second. So no. So here's the thing. So my son apparently choked the child, and I, as his parent, will not be told, even though she said in here that she told me, and an incident report was created. There was no incident report. They even testified that the only incident report that was ever created was just the one, which the college had. But she said in here that there was. So an incident report is supposed to make sure that a parent knows about whatever incident that has occurred. I never got one. So my child apparently choked somebody? That's serious. And I wouldn't be given an incident report. I wouldn't be told about it. Forget me for a minute here. So can you imagine being the parent of the child who was choked? So imagine your child comes home and tells you that he or she was choked at daycare, and you weren't given any notice or any incident report. How would you react? Would you not be at the daycare next thing calling and moving all sorts of ruckus? I know I would. Can you imagine? So my son choked somebody, apparently, allegedly, choked somebody, and there was not an incident report prepared? But in there, Needy said that there was one. But we all know, as you guys have seen in my previous video, and also in the tribunal, only one incident report was prepared where he wrote HOO. So again, remember, my son was aggressive, blah, blah, blah. If they're going to prepare an incident report of where he writes HOO on a sticky note, which, let's be honest, is not on a scale of serious things, is it as serious as a kid being choked, a kid being hit, or kids being endangered? So they don't want an incident report on that one sticky note, but then won't write one where he choked somebody? Are you kidding me? Is that not a grave, what do you call it? Forget, like, that's not possible. Ministry of Education, are you listening? This is what they said. So that means they failed to document, if what they're saying is true, they choked somebody and they didn't prepare an incident report. Isn't that failing to document something? I'm sorry, didn't we just read that that's one of the code violations? I'll go on. Now keep in mind that Needy, the same person that said she had a good relationship with my son, also in the same breath said that she feared him, she felt unsafe because of him. Isn't that a contradiction? How could you have a good relationship with someone that you fear, that you don't feel safe around? Does that even make any sense? And to top it all off, the person that you fear is a 6-year-old child. Explain that one to me. And during the tribunal, when I asked Needy about the conversation that we had, where she said, what scratches, what bruises, what are you talking about? Do you know what she said? She couldn't remember. She couldn't recall. She never said it didn't happen. Remember, when you testify, you're under oath. You swear that you tell nothing but the truth. So she never said it never happened. She never, none of that. All she said was she couldn't recall. She couldn't remember. So in my last video, I actually forgot to say this part of the decision, which is paragraph 3. We're actually going to go through that right now. That way, again, we've got to find out how the college came up with the decision. So in here, on paragraph 4, actually, paragraph 4, it says, the complainant expressed concern that the center did not abide by the center's code of conduct, which indicates that a list of outside support agencies will be offered as part of corrective measures for major occurrences. It is not disputed that the center did access DBMS, which is the Durham Behavioral Management Services, for A, and contemplated referring him to that service a second time. When the complainant indicated she did not want to use that resource again, a second resource was suggested. So in there, so they said that remember, this was said in the last video, that I indicated that I did not want to use Durham Behavioral Management Services. You guys are going to see my email that I sent when I received the resource for Exceptional Children Youth Forum. Remember I said I wrote a letter to Lindy and Anna and sent an email to the to Pride head office and Pride at St. Mark's. You were going to read those emails and my letter. Not once in there did I say that I did not want to use Durham Behavioral Management Services. In fact, in there I said we used it and it worked. Why can't we go back and use the services or use the accommodations that they have developed? That's what that says in there. And again, the college had both the emails that I sent and the letter that I sent to Needy and Lindsay. You will see that letter and the email. Not once, again, did I say I didn't want it. In fact, it has the opposite. But yet the college sided with them and said, because I didn't want it again. Where's the documentation that says I didn't want it? I gave you documentation that says I did want it. We're going to move on. So on that second page of the decision, the second paragraph, the panel says, what the panel is unable to decide is whether any concerning behavior was brought to the complainant's attention in between these two discussions. Staff witnesses indicate that Ms. Chauhan spoke with the complainant about A on a regular basis and suggested a renewed referral to Durham Behavioral Management Services. And the staff witnesses, which is Needy and Anna, okay? These were the staff witnesses. We'll go on. Then they said there are multiple documented incidents throughout the first month of the summer program in respect of A's behavior, but they are not indicative of the problems being shared with the complainant. The panel is uncertain whether these concerns were communicated to the complainant, and if not, they should have been. And the members should take steps to ensure that such communication between staff and parents occurs in the future. This part is funny. So in there, so I have to tell you, when they submitted their so-called daily logs or staff communication logs, there were two sets actually, that was submitted. And I totally wish I can show you these guys, but they weren't my evidence, so I can only show you what came from me. So because it came from them, I don't think I can show you what they are, but I will do my best to try and explain it. So the one set seemed like they were photocopied from a book, because when you see it, it has a date, then it has the incident. So for example, it will say August 3rd incident, and then the next on it will be August 4th incident, blah blah blah. And whenever there wasn't anything, they'll just say something like nothing happened that day. I really wish I could show you this, guys, because it's good. So that particular set, that one actually starts on August 3rd, which then coincides with, again, remember I said nothing really happened in July, but the first set of program notes or the staff communication log, it begins August 3rd all the way to August 20th. So again, it has the date, incident, and right underneath it will be the next day, blah, 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 and then it's like a book, and you see the ones where it seems like a book. But remember I said there was a second set. Then you have another set of communication logs from the staff that date back starting from July. So here's my thing. So even I brought this up during court. If those were part of the communication logs, why are they separate? There's more to this. There's more that I'm gonna get to, and you guys are just good. Honestly, I can't even make this stuff up. So some have in July, and again, it will have the date, it will have an incident, and so I think there's about 12 of them. I can't remember how much of them there were, but a lot of them weren't even signed. They were on line sheets, so this was incidents, so there were incidences, they were on line sheets, only saying a date, an incident, and then it'll be blank. There's nothing. Then you see another one at different dates, a little paragraph, done, nothing. And a lot of them were not initialed or signed by anybody. And here's one. There was one particular incident. I can't remember what date it was. I think it was July 20th. It was for Friday, August 17th. So this incident, remember, it was written down in what appeared to be actual logbooks. It also was written again on the separate set that had a date, some incident, and then nothing else. Then it was a brand new sheet with another date, another incident, and done. So this incident, apparently it was when my son, I guess they did henna on their hands, and then it got smudged. He got angry, went to leave the classroom, but then they got him back in or something like that. It had to do with a smudge henna. So this incident was in the regular, what appeared to be actually a photocopy of a book. It was also in the separate sheet. So when I asked Needy why she would rewrite what's already written in the communication log, rewrite it again, and then submit that as evidence, she said that when that happened, the person, we'll call her Jane Doe, asked her if she can write down the incident down for her. So apparently she's 52 years old, and she was so shaken up by the whole incident. It was just a very stressful day. Shaken up by the fact that my son got angry because his henna tattoo, he got upset that his henna tattoo was rubbed off. That's according to Needy. So she got upset and wanted her to write it down. I said, okay, so then she wrote it down, but the way it's written was like the person, the writer, was the one who was doing it. She didn't say Jane said this, Jane said it was I. Then she signed it, P. Doe. So she signed it with the other person's name. So I said to her, I'm sorry, is that not fraud? If you're gonna write a business document, a work document, so you're writing it in the first person, but then sign someone else's name on it, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I don't claim to know the law, but I'm pretty sure that's fraud. When I brought that up, she said, I don't know. She just wanted her to write it, and so she did. If that was true, then I said to her, so if she asked you to write that down for her, well, we should now go back and write everything verbatim, word for word, back onto the area, the actual book. There was a communication log. The college had these two documents. Remember, everything was given to them. And if they were doing their investigation, they would have seen these two separate entries, these two entries on the same day. One appeared on the book, on a photocopy of a book, and the same day, the same incident appeared on the separate logs. It was word for word verbatim. But the signature, again, the first one had, say, Jane Doe. It was signed Jane Doe. Second one was J. Doe. And you could tell not the same person actually wrote it. And in court, and during the tribunal, Needy admitted that she was the one who wrote it. She wrote it, signed another person's name on it, as if that person signed it. College of Early Childhood Educators, Ministry of Education. Are you guys listening? I'm pretty sure that is fraud. I'm not done. So these staff communication log, my son's name is everywhere on that. So during the tribunal, I asked them, so why is my son's name on there? So apparently they only use, if the incident involves the child, they'll use the child's first name, and then the other kids that are involved is going to be other boys. But there's one incident on there that had nothing to do with my son. It was another boy who told, long story short, he told a lie, said that educator did something to him, but the educator didn't. So when the educator asked him why he said it, he said, my son, and they had not my son's name. They wrote his first name down. They said, my son's name does bad things and always gets what he wants. He does bad things and he always gets what he wants. And that's why this particular boy was doing bad things. Doesn't my son have a right to also to be have his name not used? But they said, whenever an incident does not involve that child, the child's name is not used. It's only used, the first name is used when it only involves that child. That incident had nothing to do with my son. But yet his name was used as a reason why this other boy was misbehaving. Ministry of Education, College of Early Childhood Educators. Yes, you did your investigation. And on August 20th, in the staff communication log, the one that looked like was from a book, there was only one incident on there. And the one incident was the one involving the other child that was behaving badly, that used my son, and they wrote my son's name down as the reason why the kid was behaving badly. That was the only incident, that was written in the staff communication log. However, Anna submitted, I think it was 2 or 3 pages of incidences that had occurred on August 20th, the day that I was given the termination of care letter. She had times that this happened, my son did this, my son did that. I think there were 2 or 3 pages of incidences that she submitted to the college and the tribunal that she wrote out. She wrote them out, she signed them. I'm sorry, how is a supervisor that sits in the office going to write about incidences that occur in the classroom? Isn't that the educator's job to write those? Isn't it? But moving on. So she wrote them, like I said, there were about 2 or 3 pages of, she wrote them. So she signed them, then Needy signed them. At the tribunal, if you read the case file, Needy said that her signature meant that she wasn't there, didn't necessarily mean that she wouldn't say it firsthand. It meant that she was aware of them. Is this how you guys do staff communication log? Where supervisor writes all the incidences, supervisor signs it, not the staff in the classroom. Staff in the classroom initials it to say that she was aware of it. She didn't really see it firsthand. Needy said her initials on what Anna had written, a supervisor had written, her initials meant that she didn't necessarily see it firsthand or observed it. It just meant that she was aware of it. Also on the report, they said, again, which is true, that there was, I guess, a difference of opinion in how I was given the safety form and what I understood and didn't understand. I had submitted to them, again, I will show you guys this as well. The safety form was what they gave me and said, by signing this, I'm agreeing that they can call me to offer additional support should their need. And I said, yes, I will sign it. Now, this safety form looked exactly the same as the previous safety forms that was in place for my son. Remember, this wasn't the first time, and I've had the other safety forms, which I'm going to show you. I'm showing you a lot of information, that way you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. My son maybe had a previous of 3 or 4. Everything was the exact same. We did it with the educators, with the supervisor. It was handwritten, and then I'll sign it. It looked the exact same way. So I had no reason to believe that there was anything different. When they presented to me, it was typed, it was already pre-typed, and they said, okay, just sign it, whatever, and I signed it. It was only after my son got kicked out, when I reviewed that safety form, on the very bottom, which I want to show all of you, the little part in there that said, if they cannot reach me 3 times consistently, then care would be terminated. And again, when I saw that, I want to show you the email again that I gave at the Center of Pride, at the head office, and I admitted that, you know what, that was my fault for not reading that part, but I assumed it was like the previous ones that we had set in place for him. And the previous ones did not have that line on there. Okay, did not have it. And I'm going to show you guys the previous 3 that was in place for my son, it was the exact same. But it did not have that one line which contained this new one that I signed that's at the very top that said, if they couldn't reach me 3 times. And even that, I said to them, even that sentence, if they can't reach me 3 times consistently, to me, I remember saying, is that 3 times in one incident or 3 consecutive incidences? Even up to now, it was never clarified. That's what I said to them. So for the College of Early Childhood Educators, is informed consent not a thing? I belong to 2 regulated professions. Again, 2. And for us, you have to make sure that client, patient, whoever it is that you're dealing with, understand any documents that they have to sign. You have to make sure that they understand and they're in agreement with whatever it is that they're signing. It's called informed consent. And I emailed them saying, this is what I had previously, and I'm going to show you guys. There's going to be 3. It's the exact same. The previous 3 didn't have that line. And again, I take responsibility for not reading it, but they should have made sure they changed it. Never informed me that it was changed. Informed consent. And there's more. During, remember, there's also, for the safety plan, there's also an individual support plan that's created. Anna said that I was involved in creating the safety plan. The support plan and safety plan, that I was involved in it. I said I was not. Like I said, when I got there, the only thing present was a safety plan. They said, by signing it, I signed it. So she said that, I was involved in creating of it. I have to have my input, Ray. I'm going to show you the actual form. The form was created August 3rd, 2018. Remember, in my previous video, we met August 15th. If I helped create that form, first of all, A, it wouldn't have been already typed. It would have been handwritten like the previous ones. That's 1. And 2, on the date that it was created, it says August 3rd. When we signed it was August 15th. Remember, August 3rd was the day that she asked me about having to have a chat. That was the day of when I was presented with the resource for exceptional children and youth. So then it appeared then to me that after seeing that, so that day, she started to do the resource form, fill it out, then do my son's individual support plan, safety plan. I had no input in that. The college had a copy of all these forms. I submitted it to them, and Pride, Lindsay, and Anna submitted the same form. The date on those forms that I supposedly helped them do was August 3rd. We never had a meeting August 3rd. It was August 15th. And the college had that information during their investigation. So remember, part of my complaint was that I was being followed, or Anna had Lindy follow me when I went to go get my children's belongings. The college in the report don't even address that whatsoever. There's not even a blip of that part of my complaint. But I will tell you what happened. So during the tribunal, when I asked Anna about that, she said the reason why she had Lindy follow me was because it was their best practices, because that way the custodials, the school custodials, do not bother the parents and ask parents why they're there. That's right, guys. The school custodians who have absolutely nothing to do with the daycare. Even if they asked me, remember I said my kids had been there for 4 years. Both my kids go to school there. So why would they ask me what I'm doing there? They would automatically assume, because the daycare is still in operation, if they see going up there, going on the daycare side, why would they question them about anything? They would just assume they're there for the daycare. That's 1. 2, I'm not going there when the daycare is closed. So that would make sense. If I'm going there when they're closed, then of course the custodial staff will ask me, what am I doing there, blah, blah, blah. But I'm there when the daycare is operational. So why would the custodial staff stop me and question me? 3, the daycare door's not open. It's locked. So whenever anyone comes, you gotta ring the bell, and then the daycare staff is who opens the door. So if the daycare staff is the one who opens the door, why would the custodial staff have any interaction with the parents either picking up, dropping off, or just collecting stuff? But that was her answer. Her answer was, I am not making this up, guys. You can't even make it up. She said the reason why she had Lindy follow me was that way is, first of all, it's best practices. It's not part of their mandate, but it's best practices. And that way, the school custodial staff does not question the parents. That is what she said. And again, in the college's note, they hadn't did that. It is clear, or it is evident, that I was called numerous times. Even Lindsay, in her submission, said that she phoned me twice and left me voicemails. Remember, in my last video, I said I gave them a copy of my phone records. So really, if you're gonna count, so I was called. Remember, I said I was called 3 times. But the second time, I won't even count that, because that's the second time. The first they called me, spoke with him. The second time was when Anna called me back just to ask me what I said to him. And then the third time was really when she called me to come and pick him up. So really it's 3, but actually it's 2. But the college said it is clear that I was called numerous times. But my phone records does not indicate that. I would tell you, I have a TELUS, okay? TELUS cell phone. I don't have a house phone. My cell phone is my work phone, whatever phone, my alarm clock, everything. So I'm with my cell phone, if someone calls me and does not wait for the voicemail to come on, then again, yes, it will not show up on my phone records. So if someone calls me and hangs up before my voicemail is reached, it will not show up on my phone records. I have TELUS. But if they call me and my voicemail comes on, then it will show up on my phone records. Lindsay says she phoned me twice and left me a voicemail. I gave them my phone records. Nowhere on there, and I think she had there were times that she called me. She said it in the afternoon. Nowhere does Lindsay's number appear on my phone records. Yes, she called me twice and left me a voicemail. Again, remember I said before, Anna had in there where she called me at certain times, like at 2 something, blah, blah, blah. She had specific times. The college had my phone records. It had in there the first call, second call, and third call. That was it. No more calls were made to me. I even highlighted it for them. Yet on their report back to me, they said it was clear I was called on numerous times. 2. Yes, it was 3. Second one doesn't really count, but 2. Then the college has the audacity to say that they're pleased to see that my son was doing so well in the new daycare, that he got afterwards. You guys are early childhood educators. You would know more about childhood development than I would, okay? Because you guys were in the childcare field. So does it make sense to you? They have my son's report card for that year. So they had one in November. They got the one in November and the one in February, the year after he was kicked out. And in both report cards, he was doing well. He was a B student at the time. So there was no issues at school. There was nothing. So do you not think to yourself, so you guys are saying that he's dangerous, he's this, he posed a threat, Ray. So at school, he was fine. At school where he's in the French immersion, his first language isn't French. Mine is not French. I don't even understand a word of French. I don't speak French. So at school where he's in a structured program for 6 hours in 6 hours a day, he's fine. So he's fine at school, fine at home. He goes to a new daycare. Literally within the 2 weeks that I was given, found a new daycare. He was fine. Actually, before that daycare, so that the next week afterwards, he was kicked out. I put him in the tumbling program at a cheerleading club in Whitby. He's fine there. So he's there for the whole entire day. So he's fine at the tumbling class, fine at school, fine at home, fine at the new daycare. Yet the only place he was so dangerous is at daycare. So what does that tell you? Does that tell you is the problem with the child? If the problem was with the child and he had behavioral issues, those issues should have continued without intervention. He didn't have any intervention. The only intervention that was done was that he was removed from Pride, removed from that environment. So if it was true that his behavior was so bad, then I, as his parent, have to wonder, what kind of environment then was created at Pride to make him behave that way? If it was true that his behavior was that bad, because nothing else changed. He didn't seek therapy. He didn't seek Durham Behavioral Management again. He didn't go to know anything, but yet his behavior improved. The only change was the environment, which was Pride. You tell me, College of Early Childhood Educators, you in the childcare field. You tell me how that is possible. And then they said that there's documentation that he, They said that there was documentation that he posed a safety concern for other children and staff. They said, I'll say that again. They said that there was documentation that he posed a threat, that he posed a safety concern for other children and staff. Please tell me, where are this documentation? Where are they? There was none. Sorry, there was the one where he wrote HOO. Even the communication logs that they submitted, nowhere in there did it have that a child was harmed. Zero. None of them. So if they're going to count, and then the separate ones that they had, which I clearly doubt were written during that time, but that's a different story. So even the other ones that were handwritten, that were not part of a book, had nowhere in there where a child was harmed. But the college is saying that there's documentation that my son posed a threat. Please tell me where it is. They had the same thing that the tribunal had. There was one. And again, let's go back to those program notes. So the staff communication log, remember, that stays in the classroom. So remember, there were the other ones, and even Anna made her own notes. So apparently, after a meeting on the 15th, she submitted what she called memorandums. So she had them August 15th. Then she also had memorandum that was dated in July, where she says Needy asked me, and I was upset. So those memorandums that were about my child, remember, I asked for a copy of my son's file. So those memorandums that she wrote on August 15th after a meeting, and the one that she wrote in July regarding Needy asking me and I declined, those were not in my son's file. They were not. Remember, anything that's going to go into a child's file, a parent has to be made aware of it before it goes to a child's file. Nothing can go in a child's file without the parent's knowledge. And how do you make sure that parent knows? That parent has to sign it. So in her memorandums, which she had locked in July and then August 15th, she signed it, but they were not in my son's file. So when I asked her where these files are kept, because she knows it cannot be my son's file, because if it was my son's file, I have to initial it. Even our meeting that we had in July, she made her little notes, she signed them, but they were not in my son's file. So if you're going to write something about my child and not tell me about it, how is that a legal document? Remember, the Code of Ethics and the Standard of Care that we went through in the beginning. So she made notes regarding my child. It wasn't in my child's file. So when I asked her in court where she kept her memorandums and those extra communication logs, she said they're kept in a file in her office. They're locked. So they're not in my son's file. They're about my kid. They're about my son. She wrote memorandums about her meeting, memorandums about this and that. So she even had a memorandum about the meeting that we had on August 15th, which the College of Early Childhood Educators took as evidence. But those documents, those ones that she had that were extra, they weren't kept in the classroom. They weren't kept in my son's file. Even though they're about him, they're kept in another place in her office, locked in the drawer. Why would you need to lock those up in your drawer in your office? You made notes about my son, about a meeting that we had. Does it not make sense that if you're going to make a note, especially when I have a meeting with you, you make notes on it. You sign it yourself. Does it not make sense that you would have me read it over, and then I will sign it, then you put a copy in my son's file? They were not in my son's file at all. So you have to ask yourself, then why are you making those memorandums? So they weren't daily logs. She signed them, but I never did, and they were not in my son's file. So what's the point of creating those memorandums if you're not going to show me that way I will agree on and that's what happened? My signature's not on it, so she doesn't show them to me, but she makes them and they involve me and my son, but they're kept somewhere else. Ministry of Education, College of Early Childhood Educators, is this what's normal practice? This is standard practice? Are you serious? This is your standard practice. This is what's normal. Okay, that makes sense to me. And now to the point of this whole video. I want everyone to email the College of Early Childhood Educators. The email's right here, the discipline, whatever the email is. I want them able to email and ask how they came up with this decision based on the information that they have. I have to wonder. None of you may be thinking, oh, how do they know that, it was like a white staff and a black mother and their son. So during their investigation, they requested, because they knew that I had filed a complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal. So they wanted all the information that I had submitted to the tribunal. They wanted everything. So any communication, back and forth, they wanted everything. So they knew that I had filed a case with the tribunal and that my case involves racial discrimination. So they knew that I was a black woman and my son was a black boy. And the educators I'm not sure how they worked that out, but they knew this was a racial case. So if I'm filing a racial anti-Black discrimination case against workers, then clearly they would have to be non-Black. So they knew that. So my question is, if I had been a white mother, first question is number one, would I have received the same treatment? We all know the answer to that. That would be a big fat no. But here's a deeper question. Here's a deeper question I want answered. And I would like all of you to answer. According to them, now the case is closed. Even when I emailed them back, they said they can't discuss it any further with me. It's closed and that's that. But they have an obligation to the public. So I'm reaching out to the public. Email them. Demand answers. So if I was a white mother with a white son, and the educators that I'm filing a complaint with were Black educators, would their decision have been different? Would it? Think about that one. Think about that. If the educators were Black and I was white, and I filed the exact same complaint with the exact same evidence, everything's the same, do you really think they would reach the same conclusion? It's not just about me. I'm my son. It's not just, now it's gone beyond me. We need answers. The public needs answers. And according to them, they have to answer for their actions. And I'm appealing to the public, email them, and find out why or how they came up with that decision. Thank you.